Greetings everyone, it's the Average Movie Viewer here. Oh, it feels good to be back in front of this camera. There's been a lot of stuff going on for me at the moment, but I'm back. And my first video for movies back is going to be 5 horror movies you feel differently about because of the sequels. I mean, there are a lot of movies out there that because of the sequels, the originals get overlooked. No one wants to see them just because, you know, the sequels have a reputation for the franchise. So I'm going to talk about my 5 movies that I feel should be re-looked at and seen in a different view. My first choice is going to be A Nightmare on Elm Street's Freddy Krueger. Now, I remember the first time I saw this movie, I must have been 8 years old. I really wanted to watch some horror movies. My mum, you know, of course, being young, she was like, "Oh, I don't know, but we'll start you out on this one," because, you know, Mum saw that when she was young. She thought it was a little scary, but not too scary. Now, from my memory, I actually remember Freddy Krueger being rather terrifying. I mean, everyone knows Freddy Krueger now as the jokester, as the guy who spouts out one-liners when he goes to kill you. I mean, I don't remember that. I honestly don't remember too many of the sequels. The only sequel I actually remember completely off by heart is Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors. And actually the second one, which does get a bad rep, but the second one wasn't too bad. They kept Freddy Krueger dark in the second one too. He was a lot darker than in the first one. So, ever since, you know, Dream Warriors and onwards, we've had Freddy Krueger spouting off one-liners, cheesy death scenes, and I still remember the first ever death scene in Nightmare on Elm Street, where it was freaky. I mean, you couldn't... No one in the real world there could have seen what was going on in the dreamscape. And the first death, getting raised up out of your bed, flying across the top of your walls, covered in blood, and then just a slice down the chest. I mean, it comes out of nowhere, and it's not like the originals where it was like, you know, what's one of his famous quotes? "Welcome to prime time, bitch!" I mean, there are some good lines that Freddy Krueger does do, but I don't remember him for being funny. I remember him for being the guy who murders children in their dreams. Okay. Next in line is going to be the Halloween franchise. Now, I still remember Halloween is one of my favourite horror movies ever made. John Carpenter was... He is a genius to come up with this type of slasher film. I mean, it's thanks to Halloween that we have, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Prom Night, any sort of slasher flick you can thank John Carpenter for, because this dude was a pure genius. Now, I still remember the character of Michael Myers. He was just a shape, like a phantom. He was just there. Just pure evil. That's it. That's the only backstory behind Michael Myers you really need. He was just a kid who just snapped, killed his sister, and became this, like, phantom that just haunts you throughout the movie. And the score accompanied by it also adds to it. So, Michael Myers, to me, is a phantom. Now, I haven't seen all the sequels. I kind of don't want to because of what I've heard. But during, I believe it's Curse of Michael Myers, you find out that Michael Myers has been a part of a cult this whole time, and it's some sort of weird, like he's out to kill his blood relatives because of the cult or something. It's some, like, I can understand in the first one where he remembered his sister. It makes sense that, yes, he remembered his sister, all that kind of stuff, but the way the sequels make it, he's on the hunt for anyone who is in a part of his family line. Now, I don't remember that from the original. I just remember him killing people for the sake of it. That was it. I don't remember any rhyme or reason behind it. It was just it. So, Michael Myers comes in at number 4, just because, you know, the sequels kind of made him into, I don't know, some, like, invincible cult person. I don't know. It's weird. Alright. Our number 3rd spot is going to the Child's Play franchise. Now, this is a hard one to touch, because Chucky's always been kind of a laughing gag. I mean, a little doll going around killing someone. And possessed by the serial killer. It's... I don't know, it's a weird one to talk about, but, you know, I gotta say that I do remember Chucky actually being a little terrifying. I'm not... now, just to be clear here, I don't get scared in horror movies anymore, but I can recognize when something is scary. And the idea of this good guy doll that is supposed to be this friend to the end for young kids, to make them feel like they actually have friends, or that's what I'm gathering anyway, because it just seemed like Andy Barclay didn't have any friends throughout the first movie. He was the only kid present, so, you know, he needed a friend, and he got the good guy doll, and turns out it's possessed by the serial killer Charles Lee Ray. And something about that is terrifying. I mean, there's no, like, the sense of security is gone. You don't know when he's gonna come alive. Chucky has a plan, and it seems in the original ones that the plan was to go after Andy Barclay, and then ever since then it's gone off the rails. It's become meta. He became funny, and that's what people now remember Chucky from. All they can picture, because when you say Chucky, all they picture is Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky. Those are the two movies that stand out to most people that I've sort of noticed. And that's because they're meta, and they're supposed to be funny, and putting Chucky as the main character. And he was never the main character. Our main character for the original 3 Child's Plays was Andy Barclay. We were following his storyline. And the idea of a killer doll is scary, I gotta say. I mean, right now, I could, like, imagine if my... Alright, let's get this out now. Imagine if these pop vinyls were possessed by serial killers. Just imagine. I'd have no idea, and out of nowhere, I could be dead. It's kind of a scary thought that any sort of inanimate object being possessed by a serial killer, you're not gonna be aware of it. So, and the way it plays it out in the movie too, it's, you know, with the parents not believing about Chucky and the kid just getting more terrified and terrified throughout the movie, and the final realization that this doll is evil. It makes sense, but now all we picture is Chucky and his, oops, I did it again. You know, that's all we can see is the comedy. Just like Freddy Krueger. I feel Chucky is just like Freddy Krueger, but I put Chucky in the 3rd spot because I believe it's underrated. I believe the franchise is underrated, especially because of the 2 new ones out, Curse of Chucky and Cult of Chucky. Those 2 brought the horror back to Child's Play and what it was supposed to be. So that's probably why my reasoning is, because not many people have seen the new ones because they didn't come out in the cinemas. A lot of people only remember Bride and Seed. Not many people remember the original and how scary it actually was back in 1986, I believe it was made. So that's why it's on my number 3 spot. Okay, now my number 2 spot. Everyone should know this by now. This is common movie knowledge, or horror movie knowledge. It's common. Friday the 13th. Jason was never the original killer. Easiest way to put it. Everyone just remembers Jason. But Jason wasn't really scary to me. I don't know why. There was something more scary about Pamela Voorhees. Something a lot more scary about Jason's mother. She was insane. I mean, she wanted revenge on the camp counselors who, you know, were doing drugs, having sex, ignoring all the kids, and of course, you know, her deformed son, Jason, drowned. And she went crazy and started, you know, hacking up all the council workers. And it's more about a revenge plot, in a way. It's more about revenge than it is about just mindless killing, which, when you think about it, when you picture a serial killer, though, you picture more or less men, I have to say, and I don't want to be sexist about this, but throughout horror movie history, you don't really get too many female antagonists. It is it's a shame, but, I mean, I believe her name was Betsy Palmer. Please write down in the comments if I'm wrong about that one. I should know this, but, she was a really good villain. Even though we didn't get to see her face until, the last 10, 15 minutes of the movie, but it was the build-up. We didn't know who it was, and then, out of nowhere, it looked like this sweet old lady came to the grounds to help. It seems like, she was there to help, and then out of nowhere, it just changes to this cat and mouse chase, and, I mean, she's going all out trying to kill these counselors, and no one remembers. From what I can tell, no one remembers really how scary Pamela Voorhees was. She's pretty terrifying. A little old lady? You don't expect those things, so it is pretty creepy, so I'm gonna put that one as my number 2 spot. Alright. The number 1 spot is going to a movie that I feel this franchise is actually a good franchise. I don't watch it for the gore. I actually watch it for the character of Jigsaw. Now, just by hearing that name, you can tell my last choice is the Saw movies. Now, I remember back in 2004 when this actually first came out. I remember this because I went to cinemas to see it. And I was thoroughly impressed. From a movie called Saw, you expect a lot of gore. But from this first one, there wasn't that much. And it was implied, more or less, that there was a lot of gore. And after that, I don't know why, but for some reason, the studios believed it would be good to turn it into now what we refer to as a torture porn franchise. And granted, yeah, it pretty much is torture porn, but the first one was nothing of the sort. It was nothing. It was psychological, it was a slow burn thriller. It basically was just two guys in a dirty bathroom speaking to one another. It was great for the character development. There was a twist at the end that you did not see coming. I will bet money that a lot of people didn't see that twist coming. And it wasn't gory. I'm honestly sick of people not wanting to watch the first Saw movie just because they know from the Saw franchise it's full of torture porn. Just full of blood, guts, dismemberment for just the sake of it. And it was never that. I mean, the goriest thing I remember from the first one is the detective getting his head blown off by a shotgun, and you don't even get to see his head get blown off. So, yeah, I don't understand people's thought processes when it comes to the Saw franchise, because all they look at it as is the torture porn, and I honestly feel the first one gets overlooked because of that. It's not the best acting, I'm gonna say, but, it's decent acting. It's very good directing and writing, I gotta say. Yeah, the director, we all know James Wan. He's the guy who created The Conjuring. He knows how to write horror and direct horror. So, this first one, the first Saw movie, was more of a slow burn thriller to be able to, get into the characters' heads, understand the reasoning for why they were there, and even the motivations of Jigsaw. Just, it was more of a mystery. It felt like a mystery as well, the movie. So, I do believe that the first one's overlooked, so that's why my number 1 spot is going to be Saw. And there we have it, everyone. That's my 5 horror movies that your perspective changed because of its sequels. Now, maybe your perspective didn't change because of the sequels. Maybe you always go back to the originals to rewatch them because originals are usually better than sequels. Or maybe you do prefer the sequels because of added extra comedy, more backstory or something. But to me, I prefer my horror characters, I prefer there to be not much backstory depending on how they introduce the villain. That's how I do it. Freddy Krueger, you needed a little bit of backstory to understand the dreamscape idea, but I was alright with that. Look, Michael Myers, I didn't need motivation. He was just evil. Perfect. You know, child's play. An evil killer doll. Sounds funny, but no, it's not really that funny. Then, you know, Friday the 13th. I'm always going to rewatch that first one. Even though I prefer to watch the sequels, I will always go back to watch the original just because I love the way they set up the villain. I love the way. And then, you know, Saw, what can I say? I don't really watch the sequels. I prefer just to watch the first one. Just because it's one of my favourite horror movies. What can I say? But, you know, we've reached the end of this video. Thank you for sitting through and watching it. Please leave a like. Leave a comment as well down below. Let me know what movies your perspective changed on because of the sequels. Please subscribe to the channel. You know, it helps out a lot. It gives me incentive to keep wanting to do this, to know that I'm bringing you content that you can enjoy. And as always, this is the Average Movie Viewer. I'll see you next time.